Following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys! This is Mick Shots, streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app. Now, here are Bill Jones, Everson Walls, and Mickey Spagnola.
And as we look out over the frozen tundra here at the Star in Frisco, it's another week of podcasting inside the SWBC podcast studio. Bill Jones, Everson Walls, and the star of our show,
the star,
Mickey Spagnola.
Boy, you talk about coming a long way. Jeez, he's a star of his own podcast.
Mick Shots.
No comment.
Brought to you by Miller Lite, and the wait continues. We are about to reach a breaking point here, it appears.
You think?
Maybe. We'll see.
Got
There's
till-
a deadline staring us in the face, midnight tomorrow.
That's right. A lot can happen in one day.
A lot can happen in 1 hour.
It
It never does. It only happens after our 1 hour.
Oh, yeah,
Then that's when everything
That's
starts
true.
happening.
That's right.
Yes.
I thought of that today.
Yeah.
It's like at 1 o'clock, we'll get a
We'll know something.
press conference call.
Right.
Oh, okay. You're confident there will be a press
No,
conference
I didn't
call.
say that.
It's
I'm
just how it goes.
I'm just judging from history.
What kind of press conference would it be? Who would be in attendance at this press conference?
Well, if they're calling a press conference, they're re-signing Mike McCarthy.
Okay. All right. Just like in New England right now, they're not re-signing their head coach, but they've got a new coach they're introducing to the media as we speak. Mike Vrabel is now the head coach of the New England Patriots.
And that didn't just happen. He's got a tie, a suit on.
Oh, so you're telling me that he didn't wake up like this?
No,
Oh, okay.
right?
Sorry.
They just announced it.
So do you think Mike McCarthy has his tie, a suit ready to go for a press conference?
When's the last time we saw him in a tie and a suit?
Well, since before he was calling plays.
I'm trying to think.
Well, maybe his introductory news
That's what I was
conference.
thinking. Introductory news conference, right?
All right. Well, we've got
we got so much to
Yes,
cover.
while we await what happens behind the scenes here at the Star in Frisco,
And
we've got
by
so
the
much
way,
to talk
since
about.
you brought that up, so the reports on Friday and Saturday that they had begun discussions were inaccurate.
Well, okay, well, let us get everybody briefed on the latest report out there, which was 45 minutes ago, posted on X by Adam Schefter. Okay.
Compliments of Don Yee, the agent.
Okay.
Let's just get it straight
Right,
now.
right.
With Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy eligible to talk to other teams after midnight Tuesday, there still haven't been any negotiations on a new deal with Dallas per sources. It's now looking like McCarthy will indeed become a coaching free agent, with Chicago and New Orleans both expected to be interested in speaking with him. That was posted at 10:14 this morning.
So what's with the, I don't know, it seems a little bit inconsistent that if you're going to let a coach go out into free agency, why wouldn't you just allow the Bears to talk to him initially?
Hey, Bill.
Let me give you another
I've got
post.
breaking news.
We got breaking news from Producer Supreme.
Tom Pelissaro.
I'm just looking at this.
Did you get this?
And
All right.
I've got it in front of me right now. You want me to do it?
Go ahead.
All right.
Bill.
Tom Pelissaro just tweeted this or posted on X. The Cowboys and Mike McCarthy had positive discussions last week about the 2024 season and the future, but McCarthy's contract was set to expire Tuesday, and the sides couldn't work out a deal. Now Dallas needs a new coach, and McCarthy is expected to have interest elsewhere.
So negotiations.
So
broke
there were
down.
talks, right?
There were talks.
And which tells me that they couldn't agree on compensation.
Yeah, that's what those words just said. Yeah.
Yeah. And that they want to see, well, he already knows, right? Mike can't talk to these teams, but the agent can, right? There's nothing against the agent doing his homework. And obviously those teams might be willing to offer him more money than, or a longer contract than what the Cowboys are offering. That's what it comes down to. I said it last week. Somebody said, well, what's the holdup? I said, money.
Always.
Always,
Yeah.
right? Money talks.
And Pelissero, prior to that, 4 minutes ago, said sources Mike McCarthy is out as Cowboys coach. The sides couldn't agree on length of contract, and McCarthy will pursue other opportunities. He leaves Dallas with a winning record and 3 playoff appearances.
I didn't need a source to tell you that. And by the way, he's a really good source with McCarthy. He gets everything first from McCarthy.
All righty. Then we have a developing situation
Yeah,
here.
we didn't have to wait till 1 o'clock.
We did not. I like this breaking news. Go ahead, Bill. Do I need to?
Pretty good
Just
sound
good
effect
thing
there.
this show's at 11 and not 10.
Yep. that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yep.
I wouldn't be here on time.
And it's still, they still have how many hours till midnight tomorrow?
Yes, that's
To
right.
work it out.
Yeah, that's the other thing is this kind of goes back to what I was talking about last week when I had very good sources who told me that Wade Phillips was out at midseason, and there was, but I was
You went with it.
I went with it,
You went
and
with it.
until it became official. I was nervous as could be because things can change.
So this is not your first time being involved and on the front end of breaking news.
And we went over my situation with Jimmy and Jerry, right? That it all changed in the morning after
Well, here's the
it was
difference.
settled that evening.
Here is a difference.
Both of you
in
guys
that.
had some.
But here is a difference in it. Once it got to this point, and 36 hours away from the head coach becoming a coaching free agent, the coach has some options as well in this deal.
Right.
So, and by the way, the owner, president, and general manager was well aware of that.
Keep on going. He's got a lot of other titles.
Yeah, right.
Keep on going.
and knew that this was a possibility.
Oh,
So,
Bill's getting inside information.
There you
They're
go. That's
calling.
Nate Newton calling. That's Nate from Frisco.
I may have to go take this phone call, and y'all may have to continue without me for a little bit here.
All right, we'll
Okay, if
we'll
you know
try
what
to
that
do.
means.
We'll try to do that.
You want to take an early break?
You
And
got to
then
change something.
I've got to take a phone call.
Okay,
Okay.
let's take an early break.
Let's take an
Early
early
break.
break,
We
and
got
we'll
5 minutes.
continue in just a moment here
3
on
minutes.
Mix Shots.
3 minutes.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
How do you tell the world about all the great gifts in the Yeti store? Let her rip, Troy.
All right, folks, let's get started with the Yeti French Press. Enjoy coffee that stays hot for hours in a French press. 34 ounce for you, 6'4" for the cruise. The Yeti French Press. Hot mix waterproof bags. Bags waterproof. Submersible waterproof doubles. Waterproof bags. World's mostly water, so get a waterproof Yeti bag. Do I smell something cooking? Oh, new cast iron skillets made to be passed down like Mama's recipes. Take a steak, cornbread, cobbers, pot pie, and potatoes, and next level with 3 sizes of Yeti cast iron skillets.
Gear, gifts, and product experts. Visit the Yeti store on McKinney Street and at South Lake Town Square today.
Hey, Cowboy fans, I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But lately, I've been learning a new game, crypto. Sound confusing? Don't worry, even us pros were rookies in crypto once. That's why I trust blockchain.com. They make crypto easy. No confusing jargon, just the tools to help you win.
Prescott keeps it, slides with a first down.
Invest like your icons, where everyone is a rookie in crypto with blockchain.com.
Perfect throw, my goodness. Wow, did he ever thread the needle.
Visit blockchain.com/cowboys to get started.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
Back to Mick Shots.
Cowboys Nation, Amanda Foster has been named your 2024 Dallas Cowboys Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan, for her dedication to the team and spicing up the game. Vote for Amanda to be named the ultimate NFL Fan of the Year at NFL.com/Fan of the Year.
And we continue on Mick Shots, Everson Walls, Mickey Spagnola, and Bill, our investigative reporter. Investigating.
He is on it.
Right now. Got a phone call that he couldn't refuse, so he stepped away for a second after Tom Pelissero, NFL Network, is reporting that Mike McCarthy's contract is set to expire midnight tomorrow. Looks like what he's reporting is that the Cowboys and McCarthy have not come to a contractual agreement, and that it looks like that he will be a head coaching free agent come Wednesday morning at 12:01, that they couldn't get together on a contract. And we were just discussing that since we heard there were talks going on end of last week, that this thing probably came down to years and money. And maybe Jerry Jones was not willing to make a long-term commitment to Mike McCarthy or pay him what some of the top head coaches in the league are making. And there's a couple that are up in the $15 to $20 million a year range. And I don't think Jerry's ever paid that much for a head coach before. So we'll have to see how this ends up developing, and hopefully Bill Jones can bring some clarity to all this reporting, because one report said they have not had any discussions, and I think as of Thursday or Friday, we had reports that they were talking.
Yeah, that's not true.
So this is why I just love the offseason, because everybody's got an opportunity to throw mashed potatoes at the wall and hope something sticks. And if it doesn't, 24 hours later, it all disappears. So we'll see.
Well, you can always find another wall.
Right? Yeah. Or there's plenty of potatoes out there, right? I just got to mash them up. So we'll wait for Bill, see if he was able to confirm anything stronger from inside these walls here as we continue on Mick Shots. And so, Everson, we saw a lot of games over the last 3 days.
And only one of them was really worth my time.
Yesterday. The Commanders.
The Commanders and Tampa Bay.
I am going to no, I can't. I was going to say people out there should put money on the Commanders because something fishy's going on with them.
Really?
I mean, think about how they got to where they are right now, going into the wild card weekend. If you consider one win with a tipped Hail Mary pass, another win when New Orleans decided, we're not going into overtime, we're going to go for two, and it failed, and another win, and there's a couple more there that need to be documented because they've had, I think I heard on the broadcast yesterday, like 7 games that went down to the last possession. And then the Cowboys leading them 19-16 with 6 seconds to go, and they throw a touchdown pass to win that game, which solidified their 6th seed and why they were playing Tampa Bay, the lowest seeded division champion, yesterday. And then we can go through that game. I guess we can go backwards because they're lined up to kick the winning field goal with 2 seconds to left, and I'm watching the trajectory of the kick, and I'm going, no.
I thought it was going to hit it head on.
Gonzalez is going to miss this field goal. What was it, like 31 yards?
Yeah, it was nothing. And it was a floater.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like he put his foot into it and drove it in like that nice golf shot.
Right.
You know, he just kind of like hit his fat, seemed like. and it seemed to just kind of.
It was fading, and
it looked like it did not want to go over the goalpost.
It hits the upright.
Right on the inside.
Bounces in.
Right on the inside.
Bounces in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there going, oh, my Lord, this team is charmed.
Yes, they are.
And not only that, if we look at how they got to 2020, they get a stop at the goal line early in the fourth quarter, and they have a misconnection on an end around to, I think it's Jalen.
Yes.
Jalen McMillan. And he hits him in the hip.
Just like the Cooper Rush play.
Right?
Same thing.
They had nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do.
And the ball is not only fumbled, but it looked like Tampa Bay was going to recover it, and it hit somebody's foot.
It did.
And kind of moved to the side.
And that's where Baker was trying to reach his hand in.
Yeah.
But Wagner came and recovered the ball. He recovered it on that one. I mean, he was alert because he was on it before Baker Mayfield was able to.
And if it didn't hit that guy's foot, Baker might have.
It's coming to
It's
Baker.
coming to him, right? And they recover. And what do they end up doing? Getting the go-ahead touchdown. Because at that point, they had only scored 13 points, right? They were owning the time of possession, but they weren't scoring, gambling on fourth downs. And then they go ahead. Tampa Bay's coming back. They're going to take the lead, it looked like. They got 2nd and 1 at the 12-yard line, and they get a no gain. 3rd and 1 at the 12.
Did they lose yardage, I think?
No, this is the one they lost yardage on.
Okay.
Because it ended up 3rd and 1.
Yeah.
And the center, Graham Barton, screws up the snap count.
Yes, he did.
Nobody moved except he snapped the ball.
He tried to give the ball to the running back. The running back really didn't want the ball.
Yeah.
The defensive line was all on the other side.
They moved
in the backfield. They're in the backfield.
Nobody at Tampa Bay moves, and they lose 2 yards and got to kick a field goal to tie the game.
Yeah.
Now, Washington had nothing to do with either one of those.
That's what Washington does.
Right?
It's something about that team in
That's
the
what I'm
fourth
saying.
quarter. And it has, of course, a lot to do with this rookie quarterback.
Now, he made plays to capitalize on some of those mistakes, but they had to be handed these 2 mistakes to get in position to kick the winning field goal that goes off the upright and bounces in. Because when you hear that thunk, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. It's a thunk.
It's like, okay, he missed it.
I think it's a thunk if you miss it.
Right.
But if you make it, it's a ding. How about that?
That was unbelievable.
It's a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more positive.
It bounced in.
You don't really see that.
No.
Every time it hits the goalpost, you usually get the thunk going. It's going to come back onto the field.
Right.
This went through the upright.
So there's something about them.
And, it has a lot to do with the quarterback, of course. And Dan Quinn, I like the way the defense plays. His defense, still just like it was when it was here in Dallas. And what I like about it is it's an opportunistic defense, just like we were accustomed to for the last 2 years or so under Dan Quinn. You saw where guys they're opportunistic defense because their eyes are always where the ball is. That if you're in the secondary, their secondary is always looking back at the quarterback, looking for the ball, just like when they were here, looking for the ball in the air somewhere. We're not necessarily worried about the running back or the wide receiver. We're worried about where's that ball going to be because we want the ball. It's kind of like the Thurman Thieves were. They're accustomed to looking back in the backfield, waiting for that quarterback to put that ball in the air and give us a chance to make it on defense.
All right, our investigative reporter, Bill Jones, has returned.
And did you hear there are reports out there that McCarthy's out?
Yeah, we did.
That's what I can say right now.
According to
we're
reports.
going to work under that assumption.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we've already done that. Since
I know you have, and I'm awaiting a confirmation.
All right.
you
See,
got
a
a
good
confirmed
reporter
confirmation.
Firm confirmation.
gets double checks, not just the first one.
That's right. Hey, measure twice, cut once. Right.
Yep. There you go. So, what are y'all thinking?
Well, we
giving
were
Washington some love.
we were biding some time on how charmed existence the Commanders have.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we were waiting to.
They play in Baltimore, right?
No, Washington.
Maryland. I was trying to get trying to get the charm.
Charm.
I was trying to get the charm thing off, and that didn't work.
No,
didn't work.
it went right past
Right
me
past.
real quick. No, they're going to play in Detroit. Mm-hmm. So I am warning the Lions right now. Beware.
Don't let them be close in the fourth quarter.
No, do not.
Don't let it be close.
Because something will land in their lap.
And you know who I had
all
to
season long.
You know who I had to give love to? Kind of like Bill. You've always got this ancillary information. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that Doug Williams is really enjoying watching this young black quarterback do well in the Washington area just as much as he did. And yesterday was even more special because he played against a team that actually drafted him out of Grambling State University in the first round.
Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm. So that was very cool on his part. I texted him this morning and said, "You must have felt pretty weird about that." He said it was a great day. He really said it was a great day. So,
Which, by the way, since you brought up the black quarterback, and you guys gave me hell for the black running back.
Right. Hey, your boy.
At the end of
your boy. I meant to tell you about it. Your white running back came through.
Okay, hold it right there. At the end of training camp in Oxnard, California, I am darker than he is. And you want to know number two?
What's number two?
His mother is a beautiful blonde.
Okay.
So he's half. So
yeah, but that don't count.
Why doesn't it count? Oh, yes, it does.
That's the society said give you one drop and you're black. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is.
What about
bro?
Marcus Freeman?
Who?
Marcus Freeman, the Notre Dame coach.
Oh, yeah, he's black.
Yeah.
And Asian.
Yeah, see?
Mom is from Korea.
See there?
No, see there. He's black. If something happens to him and he gets stopped and they have a little confrontation, he's going to be the black
coach. So you're telling me if I get stopped, I'm a black driver.
No, not
I'm
you.
darker than
it doesn't have anything to do
Eckler.
with it. It's the blood. It's the blood.
It's only half.
It's the blood, brother.
It's only half.
Okay.
So
I remember that the next time I get in trouble. Hey, man, I'm Irish. No, that don't work like that.
I was only half wrong.
Okay. We'll give you that
I just wanted to make sure I got that challenge flag in.
Yeah, you lost that challenge.
No. Only to you guys.
Look, my brother Greg is like, there will be a new sheriff in town. Mike McCarthy is out. He's always been that guy. He hates the Cowboys, so I'm not listening to him. My baby brother.
So you got a sheriff you want to hire?
Mike Tomlin?
He's still got a job.
Yeah, well, he's
he can't.
He's currently on a team.
He can't win a playoff game.
For now.
You know,
can he?
I'm amused by the talk about how it's Mike Tomlin's fault in Pittsburgh. You know,
right?
When does the GM have anything to do with it there? Is it all Mike Tomlin?
By the way,
he just coaches what they give him.
He's going up. He's going up against Lamar Jackson,
right?
You know, Joe Burrow, who, you know, in his own division.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you look at the Steelers' schedule this year, it was so predictable that they were going to be about 7-2 the first 9 games, and then they were going to struggle the last half of the season. That was as easy to predict a season as any team in the league, just based on who they played the first half of the year versus the second half of the year. Not to mention, they had a 3-game stretch over Christmas where they played 3 games in 11 days, all against top teams.
I'm watching, and I'm going, okay, these sorry Cowboys beat that team.
Yep.
They're in the playoffs. I'm watching the game last night. They beat both of those teams.
That's right.
And one of them's going
Isn't that
on,
something?
and the other one is done.
I agree with you. I was thinking that last night. I was going to bring that up.
And guess what happened to Tampa Bay? They lost their cornerbacks. How does that fall in your lap? In your lap. They couldn't cover Terry McLaurin if life depended on it.
And it seems as if Washington gets those breaks and they take advantage of those breaks. It seems like every game. It all comes into fruition in the fourth quarter.
Right.
That kind of information right there. That led to them winning that game. Because it was chaos in that secondary at the end of that game.
How about the was it the fourth down conversion there at the end?
Mm-hmm.
They had to whatever they needed to pick up. The defensive tackles got a tackle for the loss, and all he does is grab the towel. He grabbed the towel.
That's how quick this kid is, man. He thought he had it, and then it just took that little bit of stiff arm.
Right.
And it allowed him to turn the corner. And, boy, when that play was over, did you see him? He was so upset.
Oh, yeah.
He was – I think did he lay down? I think he got –
yeah, he did. He went to his knees.
Yeah. I mean, that wasn't injury. That was just frustration.
Absolutely amazing.
I loved watching the game, but I hated the fact that we beat both of those teams. I mean, we beat them. We beat one of them in Washington, and we beat Tampa when they were on a roll.
Right.
We came in here, and we stopped all of that. So, that's the frustrating part.
There's no rhyme or reason.
Nope.
And I was, and continued to watch those games, and the teams that were beaten.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about what Mayfield did, but Saturday, the quarterback stunk.
Yes, they did.
Herbert, 4 interceptions. Now, one of them was a tip ball off his own guy's hands. But the other quarterbacks, Jordan Love, kidding me?
Mm-hmm. 3 interceptions. One of them, he just threw right to.
Now, these were all the quarterbacks I've seen written about that they're so far ahead of Dak Prescott, right?
And they were picking Green Bay to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
In the offseason. And they talked about how Jordan Love was just going to be so amazing, looking forward to catapulting from what he did against the Cowboys in the playoffs last year. That's all they talked about is how he whipped the Cowboys, and that's going to be their springboard to them going to the Super Bowl this year. There were those that thought that was going to happen. Smart people, too. They said they were smart.
They said they were.
They told us they were smart.
I was trying to the Chargers, they just stunk it up. And Buffalo didn't exactly get off to a wonderful start. Mm. They won. They hung in there.
But really, when you look at how Buffalo won, you look at how Philadelphia won, that's really how you play playoff football. It'd be nice to come out there and just be like we were against Minnesota back in the regular season game, or the way we were going against Tampa when we whooped them in the first round that time. I think that was when Brady was leading them. That's unrealistic playoff football.
Brady's
this is real,
by the way.
Everybody's still mad about that. But when you look at games like yesterday, that's how playoffs should be. You shouldn't come in everything working. You should have to grind for it. That's why your team should be already preparing for the grind throughout the entire season. That's why you like having a running back. That's why you like having a good quarterback, offensive line, defense, because that's the grind that you want in the playoffs. Defensive line playing the way they're playing, running back getting off in there, finding the holes, getting the hard yards, and quarterbacks being a little bit inconsistent. But then by the time the game is done, the defense has settled everything down, and the quarterback comes out smelling like a rose.
I'll be back.
Again.
Very good, because I was going to point out.
Nice having you, Bill.
Even after the first, 4 or 5 plays, Bo Nix looked like a rookie quarterback.
Yes, he did.
Right? Got that one pass, and then nothing.
And then that. If you're not ready, that's the way the playoffs are supposed to treat you.
Right.
If you're not ready. These teams come in, and they did a good job coming in, but your weaknesses are going to show. It's just the way it is. Your weaknesses are going to come. They're going to come out. And Who has the fewest weaknesses, I think, is how that works.
It's amazing how it seems like during a regular season, you can kind of disguise your weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get to play the best teams that made it in the playoffs, your weaknesses get exposed.
It's the way the Cowboys were at the end of the season.
Right.
Our weaknesses became exposed because we weren't showing up personnel-wise at all. We were playing, what they say, spit and glue.
Right.
That's how we were putting things together out there and doing a damn good job of it. But because we were so behind in regards to our talent, our playoffs started before the end of the season, as the end of the season was approaching. And that's when we started playing like a team that was in the playoffs that did not deserve to be there. That's why we got blown out by Philadelphia the second time as well, when we were really playing well before that. All of a sudden, it just all starts to come down on you, and you can't hide it anymore.
And as I think I pointed out last week, and if I didn't, then I waited too long, but all 14 teams in the playoffs had their quarterbacks.
And running backs.
Mm-hmm. Right? And the quarterbacks, the only team that went into the playoffs that their starting quarterback didn't play at least 15 games was Pittsburgh, and that was because Russell Wilson was hurt at the beginning of the season, and he nearly played 100% of the snaps the last 11 games.
Yeah, that's true.
When they kind of sprinted into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So
I wouldn't say sprinted.
Well, drove. How's that? But you got to have your quarterback. There was no one in there playing with a backup quarterback, and that's just or a quarterback who missed a bunch of snaps during the season. Jalen Hurts ended up 15 starts, right? And then he missed 2 because of the concussion. The rest of those guys, like Kansas City, Mahomes, and Stafford,
yes,
they missed the last game of the year because they had nothing to play for.
Of course.
So they sat him. So having a quarterback really, really matters. And I went back and looked, and excuse me if we talked about it last Monday, but from 1997 on, every season since that the Cowboys had a losing record, they didn't have their starting quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so my bottom line is quarterbacks matter.
That lets you know. Because
that's why they make all the money.
No, but also that's why I had to give my boy Berline some love.
Right.
When I saw him at the Bill Bates event that we were doing. And I had never really talked to Steve, but I have always admired the way he helped the Cowboy. I wasn't even a Cowboy fan at that time because they had just gotten rid of me and I had gone to New York and all of that and just retired. But watching him take over the way he did for a hell of a starting quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterback, and he came in and they did not lose a beat.
Or a game until the second round of the playoffs.
Come on, man. I mean, that's something that, is special. And I let him know. I said, hey, man, I always wanted to tell you I liked your game. And he's like, he didn't know where I was coming from.
Yeah,
I'm like, hey, man, it's just my opportunity to tell you because I've never really met you. But, man, what you did, because we talk about it on the podcast all the time, and I reminded him of how we bring up the old school days. And, man, he was extremely important to the Cowboys culture. A guy that was just here not long at all. But I thought he made a big difference. Even though they lost in that second round, it helped the Cowboys continue their ascension. Because even though they could have gone to the Super Bowl that year, or at least to the championship game, that season could have been a throwaway season.
Well, think about it. So
I know you still got Emmitt,
talking
you got
about
all
1991,
right?
And they were 6-5, and he had to come in the third quarter. Troy Aikman sprained his knee, and he led them to a win over Washington at Washington, which would have that game spoiled their undefeated season because they lost the last one when they didn't play.
Yeah.
They finished 14-2.
Yeah.
But the Cowboys beat them 24-21, and they went on to win So they got to 7-5, and they won the last 4 straight with Berline as the quarterback.
Crazy, man.
And I remember when they went to Philadelphia with an opportunity, if they beat the Eagles at Philadelphia, they were going to clinch a wild card berth. And Jimmy Johnson basically told Steve Berline, I don't care if you finish the first half 3 for 17. Do not take a sack, and do not turn the ball over.
Right.
And I think he was like 4 of 12 or something like that. But they ended up winning that game with Berline at quarterback. Okay, investigative reporter. Any updates?
Status is basically quo, but I think it's, well, I know that there's a parting of the ways.
Okay.
And so we can turn our conversation to
who's the next head coach?
That's right. Yep, that's what I'm thinking. You want to do that when we come back here?
Yes, we'll get our thoughts together.
All right, and Mick Shots continues in a moment.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Hey Cowboy fans, I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But lately, I've been learning a new game, crypto. Sound confusing? Don't worry, even us pros were rookies in crypto once. That's why I trust blockchain.com. They make crypto easy. No confusing jargon, just the tools to help you win.
Prescott keeps it, slides with a first down.
Invest like your icons, where everyone is a rookie in crypto with blockchain.com.
Perfect throw, my goodness. Wow, did he ever thread the needle.
Visit blockchain.com/Cowboys to get started.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Back to Mick Shots.
The biggest names in tennis head to the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco this February. Witness the top-ranked Casper Ruud and former Dallas Open champion, American Tommy Paul, dazzle the court as the Dallas Open moves to a new home. Catch all the hard-hitting action and watch the top players in our tour compete live. Tickets are available now at SeatGeek.com.
All right. We continue on here on Mick Shots, and Ed Werder reports Mike McCarthy has informed his coaching staff that he will not be returning. Cowboys head coach as his contract expires. Ed's sources indicate there was conflicting dialogue between McCarthy and Jerry Jones, and no contract was ever offered. Bears have confirmed interest in McCarthy, and it's expected the Saints will as well. And, of course, McCarthy worked for the Saints and worked with GM Mickey Loomis before he
it was his first offensive coordinator job.
Yep, going back to 2000 or so. Yep. And Loomis has been with the Saints ever since. So anyway, that's where that stands right now. And now we move on to see who the next coach of the Cowboys will be.
Thoughts?
I want a head coach.
Suggestions?
I want a head coach.
You want a head coach?
We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
Head coaches versus
coordinator.
Yes.
Elevated to head coach.
You want an analytics guy, or you want a gut punch guy?
I want a gut punch guy.
Mm-hmm.
You want an offensive play caller guy, or you talking when you say a head coach, a walk around head coach?
If that
a
was,
Jimmy Johnson,
if that's available, yes.
Not many of those. Not many of those are left.
You've got a former head coach with an expiring contract on the staff now, who's the defensive coordinator this year, and Mike Zimmer.
That's right. Or if I have to dip into college, I'm okay there. I just want somebody that has stood before 70 guys in the team meeting room.
Tell you what,
not half.
The easy choice, if you're Jerry, would be Zimmer, right?
It would, yes.
That would be the easy, safe choice.
Keep your defense in place then.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to find an offensive coordinator, because you're not just moving on from the head coach, you're moving on from the offensive coordinator.
So coordinators, to me, they could be, gut guys, or they could be analytic guys. But if I'm going to have a true head coach like Zimmer, then I wouldn't mind one of those analytic guys coming around, and they could mix it up and have the best of both worlds.
You can throw names out there. In fact, there are two who are offensive play callers in the NFC East who are now moving on to the divisional round of the playoffs, and that would be one with past experience on this coaching staff and as a player here, Kellen Moore, and there would be Cliff Kingsbury in Washington as well, who has past NFL head coaching experience.
This is Cliff Kingsbury's most successful road that he's traveled so far, because as a head coach, they always seem to
start fast, finish, and fade fast.
Fade fast. This particular time, they have done the opposite. Every fourth quarter, they're making all the right moves and all the right plays.
So
all the way to the end of the season, which landed them in the playoffs.
It's amazing when one person reports something, then everybody else has something. NFL Network now.
We were first.
Yeah. We confirmed it.
That's right.
I want a leader of men. And I'll tell you who would interest me as a coordinator to fit that description would be Aaron Glenn. He's been here. He has some leadership qualities in his personality.
He's tough.
And no nonsense, by the way.
Yeah, he's tough. That's what I mean. He's tough.
He was one of the better Cowboy free agent signings in their history. And he understands the game, not just defense, and he understands people. He's going to get a job. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here. I'm just saying somebody with that type of personality.
Yeah.
He's a leading candidate in New Orleans, I would imagine.
Yeah, Campbell knows he's losing him. Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows.
And Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, who does not have head coaching experience, too.
And I don't know anything about his personality. I know that he devises a pretty good offense. But you got to be a leader. You know what I remember most about Aaron Glenn? He would do this. His locker was over there at Valley Ranch near where Darren Woodson's was, on that side of the building. And he'd sit there and talk to the big media. All the cameras were there. And then I would hang back, and he'd look at me and go, "Okay, what do you want?" Just like, because he knew I was going to ask one more question, right?
Mick, speaking of Aaron Glenn, last week he was real busy. You want to hear his schedule last week?
Yeah, I know. Go.
So Thursday he had an interview with for the New York Jets job. Friday in the AM he did the Saints interview. Friday in the PM he did the Vegas Raiders interview. Saturday morning, he did the Jacksonville Jaguars interview, and Saturday afternoon, he did the Bears interview. He was also asked to interview with the Patriots, and he rejected that one.
So he must have known Vrabel was getting the
right.
job.
He didn't want to go compete against that.
Well, I mean, that was. I mean, he got that last week early, so I'm assuming that he probably rejected that one because of what happened to the last guy.
So Pelissero added to his report saying they couldn't agree on length of contract.
Yeah, we said that too,
Yeah.
as well.
So
And that was very predictable,
right?
because I mean, when you look at it, especially since McCarthy was about to become a coaching free agent, and usually a first-time head coach gets a 5-year deal.
Right.
We've already gone through this even after 3 straight 12-win seasons. I'm not saying this was true, but there was speculation that he could be let go after a 3rd straight 12-win season in an early playoff exit a year ago, but he had 1 year left. Well, now you're down to no years left, and are you going to give a 5-year contract to someone who speculation has was on the hot seat the last couple of years?
Well,
it was very doubtful.
I was thinking at best he was going to get a 2-year extension. Because if you just
and if you compare that with the 5-year that the Bears or the Saints or somebody else might offer him, and I think that's why when Jerry was talking with the media for a good 40 minutes or so after the game a week ago, he started talking about incentives and that sort of thing. And fans would love to see a contract that is incentive based. And that's probably the best way to do it is, okay, you make the playoffs, you get your next year, you get X amount of money, an increase, whatever. You might go to the Super Bowl, you get, and so you're basically betting on yourself,
And think about this. You mentioned length of contract. If you only get 1 or 2 years, your assistants are going to go follow a new head coach that just got 5. Right? It happened last year. The coaches that left here, the assistant
Joe Witt,
yeah. He goes, well, Dan Quinn, 5 years, so I'm going there instead of staying here for 1 year. Aiden Dirty went to Seattle. He had a chance to be the defensive coordinator, which that's a no-given. But again, it's going somewhere where the new coach just got hired. He's got 5 years. I stay here. It's only 1 year. There was another guy on the assistant that went with Quinn.
I mentioned Joe Witt Jr.
Yeah, I thought it was somebody else other than him. Maybe not. And so, yeah, that factors in too, because if you're a head coach and your entire staff is up, you're going to be hard to put together the staff you had if that's what you wanted to do. Now, there's a lot of assistant coaches out there. Since there's five openings now? Is that what you said, Chris?
Now there's 6.
Now
with
there's
the Cowboys
6.
opening.
Yeah,
but there were
5.
6,
there
and then
Vrabel
was hired, and
right.
We got it down to 5. Now we're back up to 6.
So you would have had 5 staffs probably to pick over.
Do you think Jerry knew this was going to happen?
I think he knew a possibility existed.
Yeah, always a possibility. But
yeah.
If he was going to roll the dice, I think he thought he had it in the bag.
That he wouldn't leave?
That he wouldn't leave.
No, I don't believe that.
You don't believe that?
No, I think he's not surprised it ended like this.
Well, he should have someone else in his back pocket.
Yeah.
A couple of people, because things are moving real fast.
Well, and the other thing about it is the way the
you don't want leftovers
interview.
now.
Well, but the way the interview process happens in the NFL is like that's why Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson had so many interviews last week. That was the window to interview assistants on teams that had a first-round bye.
Did he?
And no, because he was talking with Mike McCarthy last. But I don't think he looks at it that there's any great time frame. It's not like those guys. It's not like those guys are going to get hired by some other team before their season ends. Now those were Zoom interviews. They're introductory. Yeah, that's why Chicago's doing 25 interviews or whatever. They're all Zooms. It's not like now some of them came maybe on campus that had their season over. I think Vrabel may have come there. But most of them are like 2 or 3 hour Zoom interviews where you get to know what makes the guy tick and whether it would be a fit or not and whether you want to put him on your short list once their season ends. So it's not like the Cowboys are behind as far as any of those guys if they want to hire them. And they've got a working knowledge of Kellen Moore, obviously, if that was a guy that interested him. I think the intriguing Jerry has seen what's happened with Dan Campbell in Detroit. Patriots, I think the reason that Gerard Mayo was let go after 1 year was they decided that let's bring Mike Vrabel back. Right. It was obvious that Vrabel was going to be their hire. And I think that's
why Bob Kraft came and apologized.
Here's what I think the intriguing guy in this, and it may shock people because he's been coaching high school football.
I know where you were going.
But the intriguing guy in this is Jason Witten. And I know how Jerry feels about Jason Witten. And with 16, 17 years experience in the NFL, he wasn't just a player in the NFL as far as being in front of a room, talking to a team. I mean, Jason Garrett would rave about that sort of stuff. Now he's been coaching his kids at the high school level the last 3 or 4 years, and a couple of state championships the last couple of years. But Witten is a guy that it would shock the world because
it would shock the hell out of me.
It would shock the world.
It would shock the hell out of me.
But I think it's an interesting candidate.
And when he finished and all this talk came up about him potentially being a head coach at some point, and I remember somebody inside this organization, I said, well, the tough thing he would have if he jumped right into the NFL is putting together a staff. Mm-hmm. And the person looked at me and goes, you would be surprised that he knows a lot of people that he could put a staff together. And it's somebody I trust. And so with that opinion, not that he was sitting there thinking, right, I'm going to hire this.
But obviously he'd be a walk-around head coach.
Right.
He hires offensive coordinator, hires defensive coordinator. It might be the defensive coordinator that was here this year in Mike Zimmer, who then you got a veteran former head coach who helps him along too. And then you have a senior assistant as well. Anyway.
And then you have to find a offensive coordinator.
But what you're doing if you do that, and I guarantee you Jerry has thought of him in terms of being a head coach at some point. The biggest difference, obviously, between him and a Dan Campbell is Dan Campbell was an assistant coach and actually was an interim head coach with the Dolphins going back 2015 or so, I think, when Sperano may have been let go, whatever, and then he was under Sean Payton, and so he's been mentored along. But I think Jerry could count his 16, 17 years playing in the NFL as experience becoming a coach in the NFL.
Then he can do like Dan Campbell did and just hire former players to coach for him, which Campbell did initially, right?
Right. So... anyway, just a name to keep an eye on.
It sure is. I would be extremely surprised if this happened.
Here's your thunk. There it goes. It's fading.
The distractible player, Mickey Spagnola, is now describing the game-winning field goal by Zane Gonzalez.
You didn't get to hear me talk about it. I called it a thunk. Zane Gonzalez. That's their fourth kicker.
That's right.
He survived by the skin of his chin.
All right.
What else?
So let's say a little something about Mike McCarthy in our last 4 minutes. His time here. What do you think?
Well, when you walked out, but it was something you had brought up, and I went and did my research on it about teams in the playoffs having their quarterbacks. And I pointed out to Everson that since 1997, when the Cowboys went, 7-9 with Troy Aikman starting all 16 games, all the rest of the losing seasons involved quarterback injuries or getting benched, every one of them. And so Mike McCarthy has 3 of 5 winning seasons here, and the 2 he didn't. He lost Troy Aikman Dak Prescott for the season. So when you look back at his history here, I guess it would be remembered as 2 out of 3 division titles, 3 playoff appearances, and the fact that he didn't win enough playoff games.
No, that's going to be the first narrative.
Right?
Yeah, the lack of playoff games. That's just the way it is when you're coaching the Cowboys. I can see McCarthy coming into that negotiation, coming from a place of strength, just like you just pointed out. Divisional winner, 12 wins, 3 years in a row, 3 years. And, something like that just doesn't happen around here. The number one narrative, though, will definitely be that he couldn't win playoff games. He went into that negotiation. I'm sure he went in there thinking, this is what I'm going to tout. I'm going to talk to you about how many other coaches have you had that have done something like what I've done here in the last 4 years. So as far as I'm concerned, I understand why he came in that way. I'm sure Jerry was not surprised that he did come in that way, but I'm also surprised that if Jerry wants to go through this process, based on what happened this past offseason and everything just kind of got pushed into the last minute, I would really feel comfortable going into this offseason with a little bit more security. I don't want to go too deep into the offseason. I know what you were saying. I understand that. But I don't want to go too deep into the offseason without having my team ready, coach-wise, for next year.
Think about what Jerry has done in the past when he's made coaching changes. Now, the rules have changed where you've got to interview a number of candidates now. You can't do what Jerry did when he and Jimmy parted ways 30 years ago.
Yeah. 24 hours later.
24 hours off his couch in Norman, Oklahoma. Here comes Barry Switzer to coach the Cowboys.
Right.
But hold that thought. Until McCarthy, these last 3 years, are going to the playoffs, Switzer would have been the last Cowboys head coach to go to the playoffs 3 years in a row. Mm-hmm. And before that, Jimmy, 3 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Before that, you have to go back to Landry's 20 consecutive winning seasons. Yep. And guess what? I pointed out about losing. Look at what happened to Tom. 86. Lost his quarterback. 87, the strike, and then they vacillated.
You could just say strike,
quarterbacks,
and that messed up everything until
88.
Until 1991.
They decided that Danny White was done and Pelluer wasn't ready. So,
but if you look back at his coach searches, now the McCarthy one,
right,
it was spreading a net, but he pretty quickly came upon McCarthy as the guy.
I think he had an idea.
Yeah. Prior to that, he knew Jason Garrett was going to be the guy. In fact, he was promoted in the middle of the season.
Mm-hmm.
He did a complete search with Wade Phillips, where there was a parade of candidates that came into Valley Ranch.
And I think a lot of that,
like you say, it's different now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that had to do with he was picking everybody's brain, wanting to see.
And that was a situation, but
thought.
that was also a situation from this standpoint. With Parcells was at the end of his 4 years, he could have stayed, and he decided it was too much, right?
That loss in Seattle.
That's right, and
tore his heart out.
So he didn't have someone that was
It really did. That really hurt.
He didn't have someone in his hip pocket at that point when he hired Wade. Okay.
Right.
When Campo was let go, Parcells was the guy. He had
before
him
the season even ended.
Right. They were interviewing the Campo from Chan Gailey to Campo.
Chan Gailey.
How quickly was it that he went with Campo?
I want to say it happened during the Super Bowl.
Okay. And then the transition from Switzer to Gailey
took a while.
Okay,
so
there's been a mix of
he thought
whether he's got a hand-picked successor or not.
Anybody think John Gruden would be a good choice?
Well, Gruden's another one that
fits that mold of being a head coach.
By the way,
he hasn't coached in a while.
By the way, Witten played for Gruden in Vegas.
Interesting.
Thank you. I'm actually participating in this.
Everson,
this conversation.
Everson, did you play for Nick Saban?
I did.
He was he the
coordinator?
He wasn't the head coach.
He was the coordinator.
I knew the answer to that.
Yeah,
so what you know about Nick Saban? Could Nick Saban?
I said Nick Saban about a couple of weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. If I was going to put my choice in there, not my choice, but who I think would fit here, someone that could deal with Jerry Jones. You know, Nick is the kind of guy. First of all, he's going to be short with the media. So he's not going to, whatever you guys do with Jerry, he's not going to give a damn. He's going to be forward and straightforward and just, thinking about winning games. And he's very stubborn in regards to how he does his business. But I also think he's one of those guys, just like Belichick was and just like he treated Belichick when he was under Bill. Whatever my boss says, I'm going to adhere to it. And that's what Jerry wants, a guy that thinks just like that.
And as we said, don't think that commercial on TV that Saban's acting, the one about
that's what we
vacation home.
He said, that barbecue pit outside? That's a nice barbecue pit. You don't touch it.
Right.
Right.
He's not acting.
We
That's
got
him.
rules here. We're not out here to have fun. That's him. And I promise you guys, he would fit in here, even with Jerry chirping over his shoulder. I don't think it would bother him one bit.
How much attention would that bring?
That'd be something.
Did you happen to see, and we got to wrap up here, did you happen to see The Athletic had a poll of coaches, I think, in the NFL, which one of the open positions would be, or potentially open positions, so the Cowboys were included, would be the most desirable head coaching job available out there this year?
Here.
And Cowboys were number one on the list.
Because think about one
no
thing.
brainer.
We'll go where we started this. Quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Usually those teams that don't have a head coach now, they didn't have a proven quarterback. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And that's why they were all jockeying for position in the draft.
Right.
So, we didn't even get...
Well, Chicago does have Caleb Williams.
They do.
Not a proven quarterback, but a number one overall pick.
You got somebody to work with, right? Maybe New England has somebody to work with.
Hey, Chris. Is Chris there?
Yeah.
Are you hungry?
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
Are you buying or something?
Yeah, I want to go get
Gentlemen, welcome to overtime.
I was just going over the coaching opening.
Overtime.
Mickey is going to continue with his podcast. Everson and I
we're going to eat.
All right. So there's much to talk about. Much to talk about.
We didn't even get to talk about the Cotton Bowl.
Oh.
Who cares?
Okay.
And we got to wait a week.
Who cares?
By the way,
yes,
that was the worst thing I saw this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
The play call on 2nd and goal at the 1. Wow.
It messed up everything.
You know what was worse than that? Was defending the play call after the game in the post-game press conference and putting it on his players for not blocking it right.
They didn't execute.
That was bad.
Well, on the sack fumble, the right tackle didn't execute.
Right.
Man.
Right.
But I kept reading about how yours he didn't protect the ball, he fumbled. Looks like he got
And it was 4th down. He had to
hold on forever.
Yeah. All right. That does it. And Coach Sark can add to the list, too.
Yes, right.
As a candidate here.
All right, guys.
All right. We'll talk to you next time here on Mix Shots.
Go Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!